All right. After getting out of Facebook jail, apologize for the delay, guys. We said we were starting at 1, it's 1:14. But let's make sure we're here. I'm just gonna log on to Facebook real quick. Make sure you can see where we are. I just don't want to do this unless we are really live. Okay, I can't tell. No, no, no. Oh my gosh. Are we live?
It does live.
It's live?
I think so.
Okay, yay. All right, we'll chop that out of the recording when we post it to YouTube. But welcome, 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 guys. Happy Thursday, and I'm so excited to share this journey with Hilda Lopez. She has been working with me for the past year, and she just was able to achieve the dream that she's been dreaming for I don't know how many years, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. And the race that she trained for was called El Cruce Cancun, and that is a 6-mile or a 10K open water swim from Cancun, Mexico to Isla Mujeres Island, which is directly 6 miles across, with some pretty strong current, beautiful water. And the journey didn't start exactly as planned, and we had lots of ups and downs. So I welcome you to hear about all of the maybe setbacks and kind of struggles that we went through to get to the goal, but ultimately the dream did get accomplished. So Hilda, welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, your family, because your family is so important to you, and tell us why you wanted to do this epic marathon open water swim.
Hi, I am Hilda Lopez. I am in the real estate industry in Miami. And I wanted to do this specific swim because when I was younger, saw my father and supported my father while he did the same swim about 25 years ago. And shortly after he did the swim, my older brother did the swim. And that's where it kind of like, okay, maybe I should do the swim kind of grew into.
Yeah.
But as the years passed, I thought I was way past the age of being able to do something like this. And I didn't think about it again until maybe last year when I started with you.
So let's go back to even before that day,
Okay.
because where were you in life before that, before making the decision to, yes, I want to do this? Because that's an important place to acknowledge that you made the decision, right? Because when you don't like make that decision, a lot of times when things get tough, you don't show up for yourself. So what was going on in your life before? How was your health? How was your fitness? How was your exercise routine? How was your lifestyle with work and relation? And maybe mention that you do have a very active lifestyle with your family. You guys travel all the time. You have a big family. You're also a very busy real estate executive, and very successful, right? So how did all of that stuff play into your decision to reach this goal? Why did you want to reach this goal? It's got to be more than just the dream of your dad, because
Right.
you know
So I think that back in 2023, I spent most of my afternoons in the hospital. I was really overweight and I was having cholesterol problems, blood pressure problems, back problems, and I was literally in and out of the hospital most of 23 and the beginning of 2024. And something, well, I were in one of my hospital visits, there was a doctor nurse there, and she kept seeing me coming in and coming in, and she mentioned, like there's got to be something that you like to do. And back in the day, I used to do like a lot of running, did a couple of 5Ks, like half marathon. I was like, well, I like running and I like swimming, but obviously being this heavy, or that heavy, it's difficult to run. And that's when she mentioned, about your group. That was in 2023. And she gave me specifics, oh, they meet at this time and you can go swim at this time. And I put it in the back burner. I really didn't do anything much with it. Continued to be sick, continued to be overweight. And then I believe sometime in March 2024, someone very special mentioned to me, like, you work long hours. You're up to 2 o'clock in the morning working. You're work 7 days a week. You're in the office pretty much 24/7. And that person was like, you've got to find some type of balance in your life, not just work and play, but and your vacations and stuff, but something for you, something that you can, let go of all that stress that you do have at work, and just have a little bit of you time. And that's where that came in. And all of a sudden, that was, I think, March of 2024. So one day I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm going to get in the pool, do a couple laps, what I thought was good swimming, right? And then I think that morning or morning after, I ended up in Key Biscayne, and I was going to go start walking, to try to lose some weight. And it was too cold. I remember to go up the bridge and down the bridge. So I just sat by the water and I was like, oh my goodness, I was frustrated. What can I do to, you know, I needed something more motivating than, this person pushing me along. And all of a sudden I was walking to my car and there goes your group getting into the water.
Oh.
I was like, oh my goodness, that has to be them. And that's when I approached it. I was like, oh, are you guys, full circle? You were like, yes. So just everything connected,
Wow.
this person back in March pushing it along, the nurse back in 2023, and I ran into her not too long ago, and I shared my story, and she was like in tears of joy that she actually pushed someone along as well. So I think that became part of the why and part of the commitment, but it wasn't easy getting there or getting here. I
Yeah.
had a couple hurdles along the way.
Yeah, but I actually didn't know the real true details of that story. And that person that you met at the hospital was my former coach, Ollie, who was an amazing full circle coach. I'm so grateful for all that she did for full circle, but she did move on. But when you retold this story right now, I totally forgot about that. She actually told me about you, but I didn't realize that was you until right now. Oh my gosh, that is so magical. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah,
so happy. And the fact that you ran into us on the beach when you were feeling frustrated, like I do believe, I got goosebumps actually. I do really believe that our journey was meant to be. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I honestly didn't know much about your lifestyle, right? Because you only joined me for swimming, and part of the journey led to us doing the holistic lifestyle coaching program, my nutrition program. And I do think
right.
that was also meant to be. And so, let's just go back to that very first day you came to the pool when I always start with an evaluation, and I had you get in, and usually I would have someone do a swim test, not for as fast as they can go, but can they complete a 400 and a 200 swim test? And it's nothing bad, but the answer was no. There was definitely
Right.
no way. Your fitness was not there. So we just did some video of you up and back, with resting on the wall. And don't get me wrong, you can swim, right? But you weren't really moving anywhere. There was no like connection to the water. It was just kind of like moving your arms and your legs, not really knowing what you didn't know, kind of thing. And if you guys are willing to, I would love to share the very first video. I'm going to go ahead
Oh my
and
God.
pop it in. And Hilda has not seen this, but I just want to say she is completely transformed from this person, right? So you can kind of, it's not bad. Like I said, she's moving, but head up, right? Crossing over that midline, right? No feet breaking the surface, no real power in the kick. And you can see where there might have caused some problems with your shoulders because you're crossing over so much, right?
Oh my God.
Do you look different from this now?
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
hadn't seen that video, so I'm like dying right now.
Yeah, so I just want to say I'm so proud of you because that is not you anymore. And I have another one from September or November that you improve a lot. So that one you just did was about 21, 22 strokes. And this is going to take a second, but I just opened this up a minute ago and you got down under 20 strokes for 25. And then we went on to have another video evaluation in March after Swim Miami to really fine tune. And I want to talk about these numbers because they do matter, right? So the first, few months we worked together, you couldn't even complete swimming 200 yards at a time. You couldn't complete swimming 400 yards at a time. It was just too much volume all at one time without taking a rest, right? So
Right.
we finally got to test. I have your numbers here. In January was actually, oh no, in October, you finally got your first test. And your average per 100 was a 234, 234 per 100. And then this is pretty much this video, right? You can see it's way different. You're not crossing over, right? Your feet are breaking the surface. Look how long you are. And I'm counting your strokes here. And you got 20 strokes, right? Not 23 or 26. And that matters, you guys, because that just means she's doing something with every catch. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Yes, right? It's pretty awesome. And then the very last one we have is from March when, we went from that 234 per 100. And then in January, we tested again. You got your second test and you did a 223 per 100 based on the 400 and the 200 test. And that's a really big deal. Seconds matter. You broke that 230 per 100 barrier, right? And the cool thing is you really dialed in the last 3 months before our race in May. And you were able to hit, like, what was your fastest 100 in practice? Like, was like a 142, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge, you guys. So going from a 234 per 100 to a 142, that's really, really awesome to even be able to get that much access to the information that your body needs to get that done, in 1 year. So I just want to say how proud I am of you. And then this is the one last video that I wanted to share. I just want to make sure I pull up the right one. And I think it's right here. Yeah, so this is March 25th. And we're going to get into this story because you were not going to continue, right? So we went to this dark place where you weren't going to continue. And I said, please, we've come so far. Let's just do a little bit more fine tuning to make sure you're going to be your fastest you can be, right, on race day in May. But let's not turn back now. And this was really when you decided, after we had this session, you knew you were going to be able, right? So completely.
This was after Swim Miami?
Yes, this is after Swim Miami, but check that buoyancy, check those feet up, right? Nice and level in the water. I mean, you look absolutely amazing. So congratulations on all of that. Yeah, I mean, you completely look different. And you're over 20 pounds lighter. That's the other huge thing from our very first video to today. So, okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, because when we first started with that technique issue that you had, you ended up getting a little shoulder tendonitis, right? Rotator cuff tendonitis, right? And this can be a very common thing when people first start swimming. If they don't have the strength, so the chest strength, the back strength, the shoulder strength, and then they just go and do the repetitive motion of swimming and their technique is off, your technique was off, and I couldn't, it takes time to change it, and you wanted to get some fitness in, and you ended up running yourself into a little bit of pain. So we had to take a few weeks off, but really we didn't take any weeks off. We just worked on strength, right? And you went to PT to help you recover. But how long did that take? That setback was really little, right?
I think I was out for 3 weeks.
Yeah. So
Almost a month.
Yeah, that's nothing major. And then you were working on all your swim specific strength, right? Your dry land flutter kick, the dry land catch, the push-ups, all the stuff that make you better and more able to withstand the repetitive motion of the swimming, right? So after 3 weeks, you recommitted, and then you decided you want to do alligator lighthouse swim. Remember that?
Yes.
And this is an interesting thing because
that's my little jellyfish.
Yes.
I have this is from alligator last year, and I have it here as a reminder on my desk every single day.
Yes, because she is going back for redemption because you didn't quite make that swim. And that's not really your fault. You had a 3-person team, and it was probably, I've done that race 9 times, and last year was definitely probably the roughest outbound swim I've ever experienced during the race. But I knew that you guys could have done it, but it was just kind of like the logistics. They did change some of the rules. If you didn't make it to the turnaround point in a certain amount of time, and then if you got into the rescue boat, your race was over, and your other teammate kind of didn't know the rules, and she was out front, and you guys were behind in the kayak, because you definitely have to have kayaking skills, right? And the kayak was probably more of a challenge for you than the swimming. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So word to the wise, if you are going to do alligator lighthouse, I do recommend practicing your kayaking just as much as your swimming, because you need to be able to keep up with your swimmers, and make sure your whole team is equally as good as the other. And, you want to practice together a couple times. So that was not your fault, right? But any comments about alligator because we didn't achieve the goal? I know you were really frustrated.
I think it seemed to be a beautiful swim. I didn't get that far, so I wasn't sure. But I remember when we were picked up and we got on that boat. And as the boat was coming in, obviously I'm already on my phone. Everything's disconnected. Everybody's texting like, "Hey, we can't track you anymore. Obviously, you're pulled out, so everything stops, right?" And I remember thinking, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way this is happening. There's no way this is happening." In between fighting the tears and everything, because we did train so much for that. Obviously, there was a lot of factors in it, and you could only control yourself. But I remember when we got out, we were, I think, the second group to get pulled out. The first group got just attacked by jellyfish and it was horrible.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that was in our case. And I remember sitting by the finish line and watching, the swimmers come in,
Yeah.
and I was just devastated. Like literally, I still get like teary-eyed about it. I was devastated to know to even be there. My whole family, my parents flew in from out of the country. Like everybody was there, and I was like, I can't believe this. But I remember sitting there, and it was a beautiful turtle medal. I'll never forget that because turtles are so important to me. And I remember telling myself, I will be back. But this time I will be back by myself. And everybody was like, that's insane. It's 8 miles so that you can barely swim too. And
Right.
you're talking about doing 8 miles in 1 year. That's pretty insane. Like, and I even thought to myself, I was like, there's no other way about it. I won't come back if it's not by myself.
Right.
So yeah, I was pretty devastated on that swim. But I think
Okay.
that continued to push me along.
Yes, exactly.
And
So
then it did create a little bit of like trauma because then in other swims that I would get into the water and it was that rough, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get pulled out. It's gonna be the same thing.
right. Yeah, so but you really did overcome those doubts in your head. And we're going to get to, our awesome support group that we have full circle group, but we also have the Dolphins and Rainbows that really, really helped you overcome a lot of your fear. So we got through September and you kind of recommitted. And even though, May was so far away, I would say there was probably a little bit of a lull in your training momentum after Alligator. And that's when you decided to join me for my Nutrition Essentials course.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't really like 100% in, but I know you learned a lot, right? You learned a lot. You implemented a little bit. I think you lost maybe 5 or 6 pounds, but it wasn't like this major life change for you. And that's kind of normal because making changes with your habits and your lifestyle is hard, right? It's not an
Right.
easy thing, right? So you did the Nutrition Essentials, and once you do it one time, you're always invited back every time I have a new cohort, right? So, we also decided to join the training program for running as an extra way to get some fitness and maybe lose some more weight, right? So that was kind of like a detour. I thought it was fine to add in the running because it's only going to help your cardiovascular fitness. You kept up with your strength training. You had no more shoulder pain, which was huge. And your whole family was doing the half marathon. So it was kind of like a nice little, added fitness level to the journey, right? But anything you want to say about the running?
Again, I thought I knew how to run. We had been running we had done a couple of, other marathons, a couple years ago. So I thought, this would be not a piece of cake because obviously age matters a little bit. But I thought I knew how to run until that day when we did our test and you were like, no, you do not
Initially,
run like that.
it's just like waste energy be a little bit more
Right.
efficient, right? So you came to track workouts. You loved your
Right.
track workouts. I
Oh my
mean,
goodness. I think that
right?
those are my favorite days. Track days are my favorite days.
Yeah. So I love that because you came from someone who would survive the run to actually training for the run, right?
And enjoying it as well.
And enjoying. And you were like,
Yeah,
can I go run long? Like even after the race, you're like, can I continue running? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but we really need to focus on El Cruce.
that's right.
Your time is really limited. We have to add so many more miles to our training routine. So I know that was hard on you, but I'm happy to report that you are going to be adding that back in. And even though there was no time goal for the half, I do really think it boosted your confidence and your ability to do longer things in a better way, right?
Absolutely.
to like kind of follow the directions and do your nutrition, do your hydration, show up and rest before the race, not just show up and go out. You know what I mean? Like all the little
Right.
details, like I really feel like that helped you get race ready. So it was, even though it was a completely different sport, it was really helpful to show up on that day and deliver and feel good and then continue training, right?
And
So
especially getting on, I think it was our goal time. Like you
yes,
said, okay, this is your goal time, and I I got in at that same time, I
yeah,
believe.
15 minutes faster.
Oh, that's right, 15 minutes fast. So that to me was a big deal.
Yeah, so we tested you. We did your 1 mile test. We did that twice. And based
Right.
on that, we estimated what your goal time should be for the half marathon. And you beat it by 15 minutes
That's fantastic.
because sometimes on race day, you always show up and perform your best, right? When you're rested
Right.
and your whole family's there and the whole crowd is pushing you, sometimes you can eke out a little bit better performance. So that was really helpful. And then we rejoined swim, I mean, nutrition essentials. You recommitted.
Yes.
And this time it was gangbusters. Like I remember we started this time with a 3-day water fast, which can be sound really scary for people, but honestly, it's a complete game changer if you're one of those people that is not insulin sensitive, meaning your body does not know how to burn fat. Okay. And it's not your fault and it wasn't your fault, but that's just your lifestyle and your culture that you eat a lot of carbohydrates, right? And it doesn't mean we stopped eating carbohydrates because we're endurance athletes. You're an endurance athlete. You still need carbohydrates, but you need to time them appropriately. And when we do the water fast, you literally teach your body how to burn fat first as a first fuel source. So you burn the most fat when you sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, you want to keep burning fat, the majority of your nutrients from fat all day long. But if you're constantly eating only carbs by themselves, then you'll never keep burning fat during the day. And what that water fast allowed you to do was tap into burning your fat stores and teaching your body how to do that. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because you were really scared about it, right?
I think that the first day was like, oh, yay, I'm doing a water fast. This is cool, you know.
Yeah.
The second day was the first day was, okay, whatever.
That'll be
The
good.
second day was very difficult. I think I was cold, I was sweaty, I was cranky, I was hangry. Um, it was a challenge not to, like, everybody else is eating around you, and then you're in the office and everybody's like munching and snacking. That was hard. The second day was hard. The third day, and obviously the first day I had training, so it was like work training. You're not thinking about it. But the second day I had a rest day, so it was kind of like I missed doing something like moving. So that was tough. And then the third day, I think it was the easiest one. Maybe I did feel a little like lightheaded, a little
Busy.
weak at some parts of it, but I did start noticing like a difference in my skin and a difference in like smells. Like I've always smelled like I can smell everything, right? But this was like stronger. I can smell things stronger or something like that. So I was supposed to break fast that night at 8, and I decided to continue going.
That's what
And
I
I think
did.
I did 84 hours,
Yeah.
84 hours. So
Yeah.
instead of the 72, I kept going to the next day, which that was interesting because that morning I did have to train. And even though I was feeling kind of dizzy and I didn't want to, I thought that it was not maybe safe to go that way to train.
Mhm.
I got up, I went to training, and I got there late. And I believe I only trained for like 15 minutes. So I only ran for like 15, 20 minutes or something. But I felt great right after the run.
Right.
And I got home and I was able to break fast. And it was good. It was a good, I think, how many pounds did I think it was 6 pounds that I lost?
Yeah, I think you lost like 9 pounds, right? So you kind of
Something like that.
started this next session
Yes,
of your weight loss. And it's normal to gain 1 or 2 pounds back again when you start eating, but the whole idea is to then eat clean. And I
right.
just want to commend you because you did make the choice to not have any alcohol until
I,
race day.
I did for a couple months. I don't know if it was all the way to race day, but maybe the next race day,
Let's finish that.
the
No, I'm just
following
kidding.
race.
But yeah, but you did commit for a period of time
I
to
think it was
not
5
having
months I
alcohol.
went
Yeah,
with no
you did like
alcohol.
5 months. Yeah, so that started in, I think, no, even I don't know if it was through the holidays or whatever, but I remember, and that makes
Yes.
a huge difference, you guys. So alcohol is pure sugar, right? And when you drink alcohol, you do not burn fat at all, right? Your body stops burning fat. So when you can make that commitment, what starts to happen is you feel better, right? When you burn fat, you actually can think more clearly. You're burning ketones. You have more awareness. You can push harder typically because you have 9 calories of energy from 1 gram of fat, burning 1 gram of fat, burning versus burning carbohydrate, right? And you kind of start to feel the benefit of that, right? And then my favorite story was when you got sick, which I hadn't known you sick at all. Since we had been working together, you did not get sick the entire time. And then you told me that you went to the doctor because you had like a whatever. And why don't you tell that story? Because that's a huge, huge story.
Was that
You remember?
that was recently? That was now in
Yeah,
April. Yes.
that's recently.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I believe it was a throat infection that I was coming up with.
Yeah, you had like a
Actually, we
sore
thought it
throat.
was like a ear infection. That's what I thought it
Right.
was.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because, or not make sense, but with all the swimming. And I went to the doctor, and he was surprised to see me because I hadn't been to the doctor in a year. It had been a year because we
And
started working together in April.
but think about that. You just started this whole story with you being in the hospital almost every day from being
Right.
sick. I mean, a whole year
I
without going
had
to
not
the
been to the doctor,
doctor.
yeah, in a whole
I mean,
year.
and
Mhm.
tell them about what when you know how they weigh you and they measure, they do everything. And what did the doctor say?
So, when he looked at my chart, he was obviously like, "What the heck are you doing here? You haven't been here in so long." And when we look back at my chart, since I think 2 years, so I had already lost like 32 pounds, I think.
2 years ago. Since
Um,
2 years ago. Wow.
yes, 2 years. So it's 32-pound loss. And when he was going over the medications that I was taking, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not on that medication anymore, or not on that." So he was pretty um surprised that I was on no medications anymore. And he was even like worried. He was like, "Well, did you check with anybody before discontinuing the medicines?" And I was like, "No, I just stopped taking them." And I feel even better now. So he was pretty surprised that my chart, the fact that I had lost so much weight and I was off all medications.
And did he ask you how you did this?
Yeah, he was like, "What are you doing different?" I'm like, "Well, I'm eating differently. I don't have that much alcohol involved anymore. Well, not much, but socially drinking. I choose what events I drink on, or not, and also, my eating has completely changed."
Yeah.
That was
And so
pretty.
since then, let's go ahead and just go all the way down the road. You texted me 2 or 3 times saying it's taken me 10 years to get to this much weight loss. I've been trying 10 years to lose this much weight. And then right now are you at 40 pounds or over 40 pounds from 2 years ago?
I am at almost the 40-pound mark.
Less. So
Yes.
it was 20 with me, and then you had already started the journey before. But how does that make you feel about yourself?
Completely different. I guess you're living in this body for so long, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I can do this. Oh, wow, I can do that. Oh, wow, I'm gonna do that now."
And I do want to say a caveat about the medication because that is not I did not say Hilda stop taking your
Right,
medication, but I asked her to look at the side effects of the medication and I asked her to assess her lifestyle to see if there's a way we can work our way to getting off of it, right? And
right.
you're the one who made the decision. I didn't even know about it. One day you're like, "Yeah, I stopped everything." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, how do you feel?"
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of a good sign that your body is okay without it. And
Right,
sometimes we get so hooked into what the doctor says that we don't even trust our own body to give us the feedback we need. You probably maybe needed that stuff before because you weren't willing to change your lifestyle.
right,
But now that you changed your lifestyle, you don't need the meds anymore, right?
right,
And it's just such a cool transformation when that happens because now you're your own best guru. Not even me. You know what's best for you. And you have
right,
vitamins and resources and tools, all these things in your back pocket that you know what makes you feel good and helps you get energy. And you've been continuing your weight loss, even though we're not in an active nutrition cycle right now because we have weekly calls. Like you were still telling me you were losing weight, right? And then,
Right.
and here's the most important part is the 80-20 part. So that 20%, we got to do that together in Mexico after the race, right? We got to have margaritas. We we went crazy, right? And that is the beauty. Your body can handle the 20% when you're living clean and having a healthy lifestyle 80% of the time. And people ask me, "Oh, it's so hard. It's such a sacrifice." And honestly, I disagree 100% because I would so much rather feel better every single day. And
Right.
even those one or two margaritas, I felt like crap the next day because, I'm not used to that. How did you feel after partying your 20%?
It felt good.
Felt
I
okay.
won't lie.
You felt
And then I
okay?
just, since last week was the week off, it's been a little not challenging, but trying to maybe be on 50-50, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and then this is where the rubber hits the road, right?
Yeah.
Because you know you can get stuck in the 20 and then it becomes 50 and then it becomes 80 the wrong way.
Right.
Right? And this is where having those dates on the calendar can keep you accountable, right? Okay, so
Right.
let's talk about Swim Miami because that was a really big pivotal moment. And swim my so I always have my athletes, whatever we're training for, whatever their A race is, I'm a huge proponent of racing the shorter distance races because you can work out all the kinks, the nutrition, the hydration, the cramping, whatever happens, or whatever situations could come up, they're going to come up in these beginner or these shorter races to get to the destination race. And we started with swim for Nick in March. That was your longest race. It was supposed to be 2.4. Why don't you go there and talk about that one?
2.4, that's 4,000 K, and that's a 4K. So Swim Miami, it was, I think,
No, wait, swim for Nick.
oh, I'm sorry, Swim for Neck, that's right. That swim was challenging. The water was very, very difficult, and I had not been in that type of setting with the water being so difficult ever since Alligator in September. So even just getting into the water and having the current and everything happen, I was totally not prepared for that. So I do remember like my whole mind going on that swim, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so not ready for 6 miles. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it to Cancun. So it was a very like negative swim on my part. I was not feeling at all like good about it. And I was just trying to focus and not feel sick because there was just so much going on. And then I think somewhere around along the lines, my watch has always given me problems, and my watch read 4K. I don't know how. I asked several people along the course, "Hey, I'm at 4K. Did I do my 4 laps around? Because it was a loop swim." And they were like, "Hey, you're at 4K, you're good." And something was telling me something was off. I ran into another swimmer who was kind of like the same pace, a little faster than I am, or faster than I am, or somewhere around the same line. And she was like, "You're done?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm at 4K." And she's like, "Well, I've got one more loop." So something was definitely off.
Right.
But I was like, "I'm at 4K. My watch says I'm at 4K. I feel beat up. I feel like I did my 4K. Something's
Right,
off, but I'm done."
right,
So even when I crossed the finish line, thinking, okay, you go under the finish line again, it's timing you, so it's I'm done, I'm good, right?
right,
On my way out before I left the water, I checked again, and they were like, "Well, it's 4K, you're done." I'm like, "Okay." When I got out of the water and I didn't see anybody, like I didn't see you, and I didn't see other of my peers, I was like, "There's something wrong here." And that's
yeah,
when you came out and you were like, "There's no way you fin," some. And when we looked at my some of the data from the watch because the watch was not helping,
yeah,
and we counted, I had missed a whole lap.
yeah,
So at that point, I was like, "Erin, this is not for me.
right,
I'm not gonna make it to Cancun. I think I need to drop out of Cancun. I don't think this is right for me." That was just brutal on me, and I don't want to do it. And it was just very, very sad.
right.
But I remember you telling me, just hang in there, give me a couple weeks. We'll talk about it again later. Right now you're tired. Right now you're hungry. It's not the right time to make decisions. So
So we do have a rule of thumb, like after a race, you really shouldn't make any decisions for 24, 48, 70, 72 hours, right? It's just one of those things that in the moment, I will tell you, I did that race as well. And it was probably my worst swim event ever in 28 years. Okay. And I heard from some of the best swimmers that we're friends with, they had a terrible day, right? So it wasn't like you felt bad and it was smooth, calm, and everything was perfect. It was a terrible, choppy, really wacky current condition, 4 loop swim. And honestly, it was not great for anybody that I spoke to. Okay. So, the one thing I do want to say, like, if that is ever you, please report that you did not do the full distance, because you're going to be sometimes awarded a medal and you didn't actually complete the distance, and the person under you, who deserved the medal and actually finished it, missed out on that. So be honest, always tell the race, even if you're not sure, but once you discover that you didn't do the full course, always let them know, just because it's honesty is the best policy. But anyway, so I knew we didn't want to make a decision, and I knew it was like, okay, I'd seen you training, I'd seen your numbers in the pool. I wasn't worried. I knew that those conditions were like extreme. And I was thinking,
Right.
I don't think that Cancun is going to be like that. But I didn't know either. Right. So fast forward, you train. You really dug in. You showed up to every strength workout. You hit every pool workout. And this is the big one. You started going to Dolphins and Rainbows, which is our
Yes.
group, our friend group that meets pretty much every day of the week on Miami Beach, but they have a special long swim on Sundays. And it's a great place to train with a group of experienced swimmers in the waves, because South Beach usually has tons of waves. And that's when you decided, I need to go there every Sunday, right? Just show
Right.
up and get in. Now, sometimes you swam a mile and sometimes you didn't swim that much. But you did end up building to that 3 mile swim, because we were doing Swim Miami 5K. And that was, so Swim for Nick was March, and Swim Miami was April, right? So don't you feel like the Dolphins and Rainbows really helped you like build your confidence to get the distance in?
Absolutely. I think the group has been amazing. Michael and Jennifer, who run it, have always been very welcoming, which was a little nerve wracking for me, being not by myself, but not knowing anybody showing up, like, hi, I'm here to swim with you guys too.
Right.
So they've always made it very, the feeling has been always very welcoming, with Adam. And then I met Charlotte there as well, who then we kind of like paired up since we had the same pace. So it was always nice to go out there and actually start getting to know, the swimmers. And it's been great. I absolutely love my Sundays there with them. Some days are challenging at the beach. Sometimes, I would see things that I'm not used to seeing swimming by me. So,
Yeah, so
um,
let's just go there a little bit, because
yeah,
the ocean has animals that live in it, and we are a visitor to their house. And
right.
99.9999% of the time, those animals will not interact with us, right? So that's just the honest truth. If you think about how many times we're in the ocean and we never have an interaction, it's a lot. But when your face is down in the water and it's crystal clear, you do get to see things. And having other people around you, also having your fins on, knowing how the currents work and stuff like that, getting more confident, you were able to build your confidence. And the more sea life you saw and other people weren't freaking out about it, we're talking about tarpon, sharks, sea turtles, jellyfish, all that kind of stuff, you just kind of keep swimming. You kind of start to become a part of the landscape instead of thinking that you're separate from it. Would you say that's
Right.
kind of true?
Yes. And always like thinking, I'm not your food, I'm a friend.
Right. And having good energy, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So let's fast forward. So it comes to Swim Miami. We're both doing the 5K, and we're so excited about it. And you didn't tell me this until after, but you told me that you almost did not show up for the
I
5K. Right.
I almost
What was
didn't
going
show
through
up
your
that
head?
day.
Yeah. What happened?
I think that I was just getting nervous and scared about what it was a loop swim again. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be the same thing as swim and Nick. I'm gonna miss a loop, and oh my goodness, okay, where's the start? Where's the finish? How many times? So I think it was just a lot of nerves going into it, and not knowing what I didn't know, right? Um And I think it helps. It helped me a little bit. I think the day before you and I went to the site and you
Yep.
explained the course a little bit. I think there was somebody else there as well, but I don't remember. That helped me a little bit, you know. But yeah, that's the swim that I thought I was not gonna do. I did wake up that morning. I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. It's gonna be the same thing, you know.
Yeah. And so I just want to say how, so we had your nutrition planned out on the dock. Like you had
Yes.
a plan. You trained hard. You showed up for at least 3 swims in the pool every week with me and on your own. And then
Yes.
you also did your Dolphins and Rainbows Sunday weekend swims. And then sometimes you would swim long on Friday. We have open water swim on Friday, but you built up to that distance. You had done the 5K in training, so we knew you could finish the distance. But the thing that really was so awesome is when you finished and you looked at your pace per 100, because you actually swam faster than you had ever swam before, and it was for 3 miles,
Yes.
not for something shorter, right?
Right.
And it was kind of just an eye opener that every little detail that we had been working on technique wise was coming together. And that is also, we did have after swim for Nick, that was when we had the video analysis. So we
Yes.
did fine tune the little details of your not catching the water, not using your lats to pull you through, not having your hand deep enough to really pull yourself forward. And once you got that, things started to change, right?
Yes.
So you were so happy when you finished. Everybody was. Your husband got lots of great video of you in the water. So we were able to even analyze that, and see what was happening with your timing and to make sure you're staying as long as possible, because the longer you are, the faster you go. Okay.
Right.
So that's when the end of that race, I'm packing up my tent. Everybody's done. And you came to me with your husband and you said, I'm not doing El Cruce.
I know.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So what were you thinking? So let's go for timeline. April 6th was Swim Miami. We had until May 18th to do El Cruce. So you tell me what you were thinking and I'll tell you what I said.
I think that when we got out of there, that was 3 miles. So that was only halfway to the 6 miles that I needed, the 6.2 miles that I needed. And I don't know. So Miami was still difficult. They're all difficult, right? Not difficult. They're just have their own challenges.
Challenge,
And
right?
I just felt so tired that I was like, how am I going to get up to 6 miles in less than a month or in a month? Um, I just thought I wasn't ready. I was again, I was tired, I was hungry, even though I had done all my like the loops and I knew that I had completed that swim and I felt good about it. I did feel nervous about the fact of being so tired at 3 miles.
Right.
So I was nervous about it. I didn't think I was going to be able to build it up to a 6 mile swim.
You remember what I said to you?
Don't talk to me about it now or something like that. Or we'll definitely, talk about it another day, think about it, go to sleep, get some food, and then we'll think about it again.
And the one thing I left you with was a year from now is a
Yes,
very long time. And for you to be as focused as you are for another whole year,
that's right.
there's a lot of risk involved that you might not even make it. I said, we have so much momentum. And I said, I am 100% confident that you can do it, but you have to know that you have to be wanting to do it. Right. So I said, go home, think about it. And then what changed your mind? What made you kind of commit after that?
I think it was another long swim that we did.
Yeah.
I think it was when we reached 4 miles, I
Yeah.
think.
We did a 4 mile swim together on
Yes,
Key Biscayne,
at,
right?
at the bay. Yes,
And you had a killer day. It wasn't too rough. That was also helpful.
yes,
You didn't use any fins, like there was
no,
no props. And we did your nutrition a little bit better, right? We ate a little bit more often. And I feel like that was when you got 4 miles, I think that you really just decided, okay, I'm gonna do this no matter what, right?
right.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think that was that swim where I was like, okay, it's only 2 miles. It's only 2 miles.
Yeah, and when you get to 2 miles is less than half, right? So
Yes, exactly.
that is a big, big thing. Okay, So let's talk about the actual race because it was kind of hilarious. So, by the way, I got the honor to swim this race with Hilda. She invited me in the fall. I think you were like, "Hey, do you want to do it with me?" And I was like, "Well, honestly, I've never swam 6 miles straight. I do the always do the 8 mile alligator swim as a two-person relay." And I was like, that's a good challenge. I think I'll do it. Meanwhile, it was hard for me, like to get all that training in. It was a challenge, right? So I just want to, we're going to talk about how proud I am of you to push through in just 1 year to accomplish this goal, right? But, you know, scheduling the time to get those long swims in, that's a big deal to commit to 3 hours at the beach to swim and those pool sessions of 6K swims, right? I saw you there at the pool when you weren't in the group and I wasn't coaching you. We were both hitting our laps, right? And you learned so many things about don't hang on the wall too much, right? Make sure you have nutrition while you're training so you can push through to the end and get to that
Right.
6K, 7K workout in the pool, right? So that you can have the energy to feel good. And then you got to go to work, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot. So let's talk about we fly to Cancun and the first night in the hotel. What happens?
Well, I think it was since since we were leaving the airport in Cancun, it
That's
was
true.
just so stressful. I think we got there Thursday
Yeah,
on
Thursday.
Thursday,
Yeah, and the race was
and
Sunday.
Friday we were gonna rest or whatever, and then Saturday we were having a training day, so it was a jam packed weekend, and we get there Thursday. It's stressful already. Everybody's
Well,
saying things.
I have to say one thing. So Kilda is the coordinator for her entire family. So we had 12 people with us at one time, as many as 12, but eight, 8 to 10 all the time. And she's the organizer, right? So, for me, I wouldn't be able to handle that stress, but Hilda's a rock star as far as handling stress. And we went to our hotel rooms to get to bed kind of early. And what happened? We had no AC. Oh, it was so hot in our room, remember? It was so great.
There was no AC, there was no compromising from the hotel. There was no, till like I think 11:30 finally they switched our rooms.
Right.
Um
And there was like some kind of a festival going on, and they had boom boom music on until 4 a.m.
yes.
4 in the morning. So that first night there, I think I got 2 hours of sleep. I don't know how many you got, but yeah, it was not, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, we've got to really take this seriously if we're going to make this swim, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was very stressful the first night. And then I think the second night we were
Not
able
better.
to, get a little bit of rest, and we beached the whole day.
Yeah.
Um
But we did go check out like the ocean and we saw it was wavy. It was big waves. The wind
yeah.
was up and we were like, wow. Honestly, for me, I was a little nervous, just looking. I didn't tell you that because I didn't want to put anything in your head, but I was like, that's serious waves. Like this is no joke. This is even bigger than alligator, right? And I
Yeah.
did want to say, if you guys ever do this race, it's really important that you do speak Spanish. If I didn't have Hilda there, I don't think I would have been able to get around as well as I did. But also having they have an offer for a viewing of the race course and swimming the last 2K of the race course. We went out by sailboat. And I think that was clinched. That was
Yes.
so good. Like,
I would not have made it if we had not done that.
right. Because when you're in the middle and you see how far you have to go and not knowing what the end is going to look like, and we knew what the end looked like because we did that thing the day before on that beautiful sailboat and there were sea turtles everywhere and it was absolutely gorgeous. Like, didn't you think that was a big confidence boost for you?
Absolutely. Even when I was having challenges in race day, but even with my support guy, because I had support that day, towards the end, he was like, swim this way. I'm like, no, they said to keep going this way, so it was definitely good knowing, because even some people that were in that group to see the course the day before, they passed it. And the problem with the
Past the
swim,
finish line. Past the
past
finish
the
line.
finish line, yeah. So the problem with this swim was the current, that all the currents, but the stronger current was at the end of towards the
Yes,
finish
it
line.
literally pushed you past the finish line. And one guy we met, it took him 45 minutes. He
Minutes.
passed the finish line and he was swimming an extra 45 minutes because he passed the finish line and the current was so hard to swim against. So you planned it out perfectly because of
There,
that.
I think there's even a video of me, arriving, into the finish line,
Yeah.
where my support is here, and I'm like swimming across. I mean, he's like, "What are you doing? Go!" And I'm like, "No." The
The
current's
right
gonna
way.
wipe me out of here, you know, I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep going that way.
This is the right strategy. So that was really, really helpful. So I do highly recommend doing that
Yes.
with the tour the day before. And then, that night, neither one of us really slept, right? I know you had some stress with your family. I don't know if you want to share about that or not, but, it's one of those things that you can do well even when you don't sleep the night before the race. But it is nice to get at least 1 or 2 nights before the race, right?
Yes.
To get some sleep. So anything you want to share, like going into race morning? Because I know you were calm and collected on race morning, but I was freaking out. So anything you
I
want to
think I
share
was
about
just so
that?
tired already. I think if I got maybe an hour's sleep that night, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and then the fact that at this race, you're standing in the heat for so long, waiting for the race to start. There's a
Right.
ceremony, there's a stretching, and I did have like a lot on my mind at the start, so I was just trying to like keep calm and collected, and
Yeah.
not like run away from you because I was like, I don't even want to be here right now. Um, but I don't know why some it would it just happened. I was calm at the beginning. I was okay in the beginning. I was able to find, my support team right away, as I swam to them. But once we were leaving like the dock area, that current crossing right
I want to go back one thing because we did hire kayak support. So a
yeah,
lot of people don't do that, but I highly recommend having your own kayak support to give you your nutrition. And we had a plan. Every 30 minutes, we were going to get our nutrition in, our sip of hydrogen, high nutrition with electrolytes, all that stuff, and then our calories. And we had the plan all marked out, right? And we were sitting on the beach, and the cool thing about this swim, they announced that it was 70% women.
yes,
Right? That's pretty amazing. But because we had kayak support, they told us we shouldn't start in the front because they didn't want us to like, veer off and go to the kayak. So we let all the women start in a mass start. It was kind of crazy, but it was nice that we didn't go with them, right? Because we
right,
didn't have to worry about the panic or anything like that. So then we did our tapping, we did our breath work, right? And we kind of got into this special place, and then the gun went off and we started, right? And we went our separate ways because there's no way we were going to stay together. It was just too chaotic, right? So we both
right.
our kayaks. And why don't you talk about your journey from there? Because it was really pretty special.
Yeah. So when I first started, it was good. I was able to spot my support right away, which I was very nervous about because usually, an alligator took us a while to find each other and everything. So I was a little bit scared that that would happen again, but thank goodness I was able to find them. I knew exactly what they were going to wear and what they were going to be wearing, and I knew the color of the kayak. So we had already programmed and planned to meet each other. So I was able to spot them right away. And as soon as I didn't even have to like swim up to them, I could just keep going and they caught up to me. So
Right.
that was special. I There was a moment there that actually like worked out fine. But maybe like 20 minutes into the swim, I'm not really far away from land still, and those currents started beating me up. Again, I had not slept, and a lot of things were going through my mind in that morning. And that's where all of a sudden I started seeing myself slowing down. And the current kind of like, and I was like, okay. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned on that swim was, the ocean doesn't wait for your pity party. Everybody else swimming here has millions of things going on, and if you stop, you're just gonna get washed away. So I was like, well, I've got an option of turning around now, getting pulled out now and calling it a day and just, you know, start my margarita party earlier, or just go for a little swim and see what happens. And then as I'm trying to like think about what I'm gonna do, and I'm getting pushed by the current, all of a sudden I saw two sea turtles. Well, actually, my kayaker spotted them and he was like, oh my God, look, two sea turtles. And as I look down, they're swimming right by me. And I'm like, all right, I
It's a
guess we're going
sign.
for a swim.
And tell him what your kayaker said to you when
um,
he said if you don't start moving,
oh, yeah. So I was already like, I was being pushed by the current. And he was like, listen, if I hate to tell you, but if you don't start moving, your pace is falling behind. You're falling behind. You're already behind. You either need to go or you need to get on and call it a day. So once he said that, I was like,
Game on.
This is not happening to me again.
Love it. Yes, I'm
So
really,
I started swimming.
yeah, I'm happy
And
you said something because sometimes you're getting in your head and you're not really focusing on the job at hand because you're so distracted with the negative self-talk. And then he kind of just like went, doot, doot, like he like smacked you around a little bit gently. He was very
right.
kind, but it totally worked for you. And then you saw the turtles. I'm pretty sure that was the timing of it when you told me originally.
Yes.
And yeah, so I will speak to the current as well. It was against us, it was beside us, and then it would push us, and it would kind of alternate all the time. But it was just so magically beautiful. And
It
I was,
was.
I mean, I know you felt the same way. It was just probably one of the most gorgeous swims I've ever been on. And I've done a lot of these open water swims, so highly recommend it. So I did finish a little bit before Hilda, and I was waiting for her with my video camera. And I have to talk about when you came into the finish line and I saw you because I can recognize your strip.
Oh my God.
And it was shallow. There was like a finish chute. And it was like, this deep for like probably 100 yards. But
Yeah.
as soon as Hilda like got into the chute, she was like, oh, I'm done. She took her hair out. She was like, I'm ready. I'm like, come on, finish the race. But
I
what?
forgot that you have to like keep moving and running so your time stops.
Yeah,
So whatever my time was, you can take off like 4 minutes.
exactly. Like you had a good 3-minute walk to the finish line. So you probably were about 3 minutes faster than that when you actually if
Right.
you actually swam to the finish line. But I do remember meeting you at the finish line and
Yeah.
I cried because and I believe you did too.
I was crying all the way like while I was swimming in. I was like, I couldn't believe I had made it.
Ah, I mean it's
And
just
every not to interrupt you, but every feed stop with my support, I was like, okay, what's my pace? My watch was not working.
yeah.
So unfortunately, again, what's my pace? Where am I? How long do I have to go? And he kept telling me, oh, you have in Spanish. And I'm like, I don't swim in kilometers. Tell me in miles. I'm like, stop giving me Mexican numbers. I'm Mexican, so I can say that. I'm like, please just tell me like how many minutes, how far do I have to keep going, and where is the swim sweepers that come and pick up, the all the way in the
She
back.
kept thinking they were going to come pick you up. So just so you know, at 4 hours and 30 minutes, the boat goes to the back and
Right.
scoops up everybody this way. So
Yeah.
you really could have had probably 5 hours to finish,
Right.
right? If you needed it. But we estimated you were going to be like around 4 hours, honestly. And
Yes.
you came in at what was it, 4:13, right?
4:13.
And honestly, it's probably 4:10.
Right. If you take off me combing my hair and getting ready for pictures.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I honestly cried at the finish line with you just because I know the challenges you had. I know the self-doubt that you had about yourself. Honestly, I never have the doubt about my athletes doing it because I know what you're capable of. I would never let you have showed up to the start line of the race knowing that you wouldn't finish. I knew you were capable of it, but it was really cool to see the transformation that you knew and accomplished the goal, and your confidence just went through the roof, right? I
Yes.
mean, so much so that you decided what?
I'm doing the alligator again by myself, so that's 8 miles. So that I'm really excited for.
Yay.
Mm.
And the cool thing about alligator that it actually makes it a little bit easier than this race is that instead of the current being at you at the against you at the end, like this race was,
Yeah.
alligator, every single year I've done it, the current's behind you the last 4 miles, kind of on a diagonal. So the cool thing is we know you got 4 miles. You've swam 4 miles a lot of times, right? So as
Yes.
long as you make it around that lighthouse, you are going to be golden and riding the current back to shore. So
Right.
I think this is the year to do it 100%. You are ready, you are confident, and you've even committed to doing what after alligator?
Oh my goodness. A couple triathlons, but the big goal is an Ironman, a half Ironman.
Yeah, a 70.3 in 2026, right? Yeah, and you've already done the 13.1 run, right? So it's
Yes.
just a question of the bike and getting on the bike and the handling skills and all that stuff.
I'm
Awesome.
excited.
Okay, cool. So anything else you want to share? Like anybody, maybe someone who has a lot of self-doubt, like anything that you would tell them, about starting a journey like this and how important your why was, and maybe I know your father played an important role in the original why, but I feel like the why switched for you. And I think it became more about doing it for yourself.
I think it became a very different why as
Yeah.
to why I started or why I finished.
Yeah.
I think the why remained as to why I started, but my why at the finish was completely different.
Yeah.
To get it done and finished.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very thankful for that why and pushing me along to get it done.
Yes.
Um, I definitely feel that the whole swim, that why was kind of like there and carried me through the finish line. So that was very special. And if somebody's having self doubts like I did, like along the way, don't listen to listen to your coaches.
Yeah.
Because
So,
that's another thing. I think that the one of the big important things that I don't think I mentioned was the support group from Full Circle. I think that the whole team, the coaches, Coach Nico, Coach Dennis, yourself, um, Jack, it becomes kind of like a little family. Like even to me, like today in the morning, I was like, well, I'm supposed to be resting, but I would love to go see the team. So showed up just to like say hi and then continue on my own um, thing. The whole support system around it, I think it makes a difference. Your family, being supportive, and it's very hard on the family, your friends. You lose some, but you gain some new ones. And I was talking to Jared about that too, about the friends that all of a sudden they don't understand why you can't go have dinner on Thursday night because Friday you got double training,
right. Yeah.
and you definitely your life changes and the support that you have and that you have that I've met, healthier choices, healthier people, common goals, it's just been incredible.
Yeah.
And the whole non-drinking for a couple of months even was inspired by Coach Nico and by George. Like you get inspirations about all these things and healthy things. So I think it's amazing and great support.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you so much for choosing Full Circle Coaching and for choosing me and also inviting me along this 1 year journey with you because it definitely changed my life in many, many ways. And I'm just so proud of you and all of your accomplishments. And, the sky's the limit. We're not done, right? We're not finished in any way. And I'm so excited. We're going to continue the journey in different ways, more open water swimming, but also in triathlon. So
Yes.
congratulations, Hilda. Way to
Thank you
go.
so much.
Yeah. All right, you guys have a great day.
Thank
Bye.
you.